Hey, everybody, it's me, Ken Heckenlively, with Twice as Lively, episode 15. You probably are interested in what I, as the author of Catastrophic Disclosure, think about the new Steven Spielberg movie Disclosure Day, which I just saw and raced from the IMAX theater to give my unvarnished opinion to you. So, first of all, the good things. This is a Steven Spielberg movie, which means if you like chases, if you like some human drama, that is all great. There is a wonderful philosophical question about how much we as human beings can know about the truth, whether the truth might be somewhat destabilizing to us as a society. All well and good. I liked all of those things that Steven Spielberg did. But here's the drawback. Steven Spielberg focuses on one part of the equation, which is the human response to the possibility of extraterrestrials. That's great. I love that. And it's really true because part of what I spent 2 years writing about is how has our government allegedly responded to these extraterrestrials. But there's another part of the equation. And this is where I felt the film really fell down. When I was writing Catastrophic Disclosure, and I was talking to these UFO researchers who were telling me how mean and evil our government was in covering this up, I could go along with that and I could say, okay, I get that. But there was another part of the equation, which is, tell me about the aliens. What's the structure? I don't get this. See, I need a narrative on both sides of this issue. I need the narrative of what the human beings have done, and I need a narrative as to what may be going on with the aliens. And I understand this is pure speculation. I don't know. But what you have to do if you are a responsible member of the human species, and if we are on the point of contact, disclosure, whatever you want to call it, with beings not from Earth, or maybe from Earth in the past, or maybe from Earth in the seas, or maybe from some star system. I don't know. But we're going to be allegedly going to be contacting something that is not part of our general experience. In that case, I want to know what the heck is going on with them. In other words, how do they think? And what are their intentions? Yeah, it's pretty clear to me after more than 80 years that they're not here to eat us. They're not here to destroy our civilization. But are there things short of that which might concern us? And that's where I feel like the film really falls down, because it doesn't tell us anything about these aliens. Now, in my book, I feel like I went after something of the sacred cows of UFOlogy, which is the way the canon tells the story is that, gee, in July of 1945, we explode the first atomic bomb, and then nearly 2 years later, in early July of 1947, the aliens show up, which made me think, where have they been for 2 years? Well, that's why it was interesting that I found the book, The Trinity Crash by Jacques Vallée and Paola Harris, which alleges that a UFO crashed at the Trinity nuclear bomb test site in August of 1945, a month after the first nuclear bomb was exploded. That makes a lot more sense to me as to whether these beings are in the area. And the other thing I did in putting the book together was I went back to the historical accounts. Like, for example, you may not know this, the first time the expression men in black is used is by a book by an early UFO enthusiast who really tells a terrifying story. His terrifying story is that as the UFO frenzy is building in the 1950s, he and his group figure that they're going to have friendly contact with these beings, and so they're doing all the telepathic contact to whatever entities they may be. And the story he tells is that these men in black show up. They literally apparate into his room, and far from being peaceful, they tell him that they are monitoring our nuclear sites, that they have it set that they can blow up our nuclear sites, and he'd better keep his mouth shut about UFOs. So when I read this account, I'm saying to myself, well, wait a minute. If you UFO researchers are telling me that, I got to believe this guy about the men in black, well, I got to go for the whole thing. So when he tells me, yeah, these men in black operate in my room, and it's not like they're FBI, it's like they're aliens, and not really well disguised aliens. They got some weird things going on. If you tell me I have to listen to this guy, and he also says that they have their mission to do on Earth, and they got all of our nuclear sites booby trapped, I get a little concerned. Then I go back to other sources. For example, Betty and Barney Hill, one of the first public abductee cases. Well, Betty and Barney Hill were absolutely terrified by their experience, which then leads me into a whole different realm, which is, do we refer to people who've had experiences with UFOs as contactees or abductees? For most of my life, it's been abductees. Well, I don't like abductions. Probably you don't either. Now, contact, that's a little bit different. But abduction, that has me concerned. And then what about those cattle mutilations? Okay. What is going on with that? What about some of these contactees and abductees talking about medical experiments being performed on them? What about their stories? Now, again, I don't know if these are true, but this is a consistent story that eggs and sperm are taken from people. For me, as a human being, I got a problem with that. Then you go back further into ancient history, and you start looking at things like the Anunnaki of the Sumerians, and they don't seem like the greatest people to get along with. And then you have the Nephilim in the Bible and the book of Enoch, and it really looks like these creatures are using us in a certain way that we might have a problem with. So I kind of feel like Disclosure Day is something like the 5th grade version of the UFO story. And what I write about is the college or graduate level, meaning, first of all, I don't know if this stuff is true, but there does seem to be a consistent story that people are telling. And the stories that are told concern me. And I'm trying not to have blinders on about this. If these guys are our space brothers and they want to help us and they're interested in our evolution, hey, I'm there with you. That's great. But maybe they're so alien that we kind of would have difficulty getting along. We might not like some of the things they've been doing on our planet. And I also have some other questions, because I notice that there's a lot of what I feel like is lazy thinking. And I say to myself, well, maybe it takes a lot of energy for them to get here. So maybe the reason they don't come out is because they know yes, they have superior technology, but they don't have our numbers. Maybe they can never get large numbers to our planet. Uh, and they really don't think that we'd like them telling us the truth about what we're doing. So, all that being said, all I can say is do your own research, which, as the comedian Jimmy Dore wonderfully says, means read different people, read me, read people who violently disagree with me. Listen to every side and then make your decision. But if you want a good, fun summer movie, go ahead, see Disclosure Day, and then hopefully do a little bit of a deeper dive into the UFO issue and see if you can make sense of it on your own. All right, that's Ken Heckenlively signing off. Have a great day.